I represent Team 15 for the Supply Chain Process Improvement Project. We chose to improve the processes for the 3 most common meals prepared in our kitchen. Our first step was to film the original processes for these meals and take notes, and we immediately noticed some unnecessary waste throughout the process. Firstly, the cook regularly spent time looking for specific utensils because there was no standardized storage method in place. Also, we stored dry goods like pasta and rice on the top shelf of the pantry, just because that's where they've always been kept, and storing them there means that the cook needs to retrieve a stepping stool from the laundry room each time to retrieve them. This one detail alone accounted for an extra 28 steps and 35 seconds in each of our processes. Another waste that we noticed was that the cook regularly walked across the kitchen to grab utensils, simply because they were stored separately from where the value-added work took place. And the last waste that I wanted to highlight here is that it was very common for our cook to wait for a timed process to complete, doing nothing when she could have changed the order of her process and completed some value-added activities during that waiting time. Our second step was to document the wastes of our process and try to fix them with 5S strategies. We started by removing every item from our kitchen and sorting them by meal family and usage level. We also straightened our process by doing things like adjusting shelf heights to match the contents that would go in them. While the kitchen was completely empty, we made our kitchen shine by doing a top-to-bottom clean. This makes it easier for us to notice something that's out of place and will give our kitchen a positive atmosphere while doing work. Next, we straightened our process by making sure only essential items remained on our countertop, and this gave us room to create cutting stations on each side of the kitchen, with children's bibs under each cutting board to act as a food catcher. This removed waste by removing the need to walk cutting scraps to the trash can. We also added tools to our process, like bartender speed pourers, which removes the need to measure liquids and is great for things like olive oil. To standardize our process, we created meal baskets for each meal family, and we color-coded them throughout our process. Yellow for egg, red for pasta, and blue for stir-fry. We added these colors to our pans, our dry meal kits, our cold meal kits, and our Kanban inventory management cards. These Kanban indicators are located in each meal basket and act as restock signals when added to a clipboard with a grocery list. The last part of our 5S is sustain, and one of the long-term implementations that we did was to train our cook how to sharpen knives and how to properly cut vegetables. Both of these things help improve speed and safety when cutting in the kitchen, and they also create an atmosphere where the worker is involved in the lean process. Our final step was to add all of these ideas together and create a better process. After analyzing our original videos, we noticed that much of our waste was coming from walking across the kitchen. To fix this, we created a circular process with cells for each stage of the cooking process. Our first step was to get the pots and pans on the stove and turn on the oven. This made it so we weren't waiting for the pans to heat up later. Next, we gather the appropriate dry meal basket and cut items that don't need washing. Next, we gather the appropriate cold meal basket from the fridge and cut those items on the sink side cutting station. Lastly, after the items are cut, we bring the items to the stove and cook them over heat. This circular process works for all of our meal families and saves a significant amount of time. Here are a few clips of our final process, and pay close attention to her movement throughout the kitchen and her use of all of the tools that we mentioned in this video, like the bibs under the cutting stations and the speed pourers, etc.